Parshas Vayikra, Shabbos, Parsha Zachor. This week we begin a new part of the Torah. We begin Seder Vayikra, and Seder Vayikra is very, very different than Seder Bereshis was, or Seder Shemosh that we just finished. Seder Vayikra talks, at the beginning at least, mostly about Karbonos, sacrifices that were brought in the Mishkan and later in the Beis HaMikdash. And the Nesivos Shalom has a lot of very, very interesting, important lessons, and from something that you would think might seem a little bit dry. I say that, of course, in quotations, because nothing in the Torah is dry. There's always so much to learn and so much to talk about. But the Nesivos Shalom brings out of things that you would normally not really think that such beautiful lessons can come out, some very, very important points that we're going to be speaking about over the next couple of weeks. And the Pasuk tells us in our Parsha, V'ikrivu b'nei Aharon ha'kohanim es hadam. The b'nei Aharon, the Kohanim, they were makriv, the dam, which was the blood, v'zorku es hadam ala mizbeach saviv. They sprinkled the blood around the mizbeach. That's a pasuk in our parsha. And we find and we learn that the ikar kapara, the main kapara by all the karbonos, was actually through this zrikas hadam, sprinkling of the blood of the carbon. And when the pasuk tells us Ishei Reach Nichoyach Lashem, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a satisfaction, Kaviyachol, that is a Reach Nichoyach to Hashem, this is coming through, Chazal tell us, through the Zrikas Hadam of the carbon. And the Nesivos Shalom points out that we really need to try and understand why it is that this is the ikar of the Hakravas HaKarban. Why is the part of the carbon of spraying, of sprinkling the blood of the carbon, the ikar part, the main part of the carbon? What is it about blood that is so essential to what the carbon needs to do? And if you think about it, we also had this idea by Yetzias Mitzrayim. The Pasuk tells us in Parshas Boy, V'hayo hadom lochem la'ois alabatim, that the blood would be for a sign on your homes. And the way, what we were talking about there in Parshas Boy, the way of seeing which house, when it was the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim by Makas Bechoros, and the way of seeing which house was a Bayis Yehudi, which house belonged to a Jew, it was Dafka, the sign that was given, the sign that we used to show that this was the house of a Jewish person, was Dafka through blood also, that we placed the blood on the doorposts, on the homes. We see in other places also that it was the Dam Pesach, the blood of the carbon, Pesach, and the Dam Mila, which were the schusim that actually got us out of Mitzrayim. So you see a very special, essential lesson and a very important part of what was going on, Sai in Yetzias Mitzrayim, and Sai by Dam Pesach, and Dam Mila, and Sai in our parsha by the Kabbalah's blood played a very integral part of what was going on. And so too, we even see by Kabbalah Torah, the Torah tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu sprinkled blood on Klal Yisrael. So even when they got out of Mitzrayim, also Kabbalah Torah, add that on to the questions we would ask, really, what is going on here? What is the reason for all of this? That all of these things came about davka through the Zrikas Hadam, through sprinkling the blood. So the Nesivos Shalom tells us that when the Torah gives us the commandment not to eat blood, we know that there's an Isser to to eat blood, the Torah tells us, Ki nefesh ha-basar b'damu. The nefesh of the basar, the nefesh of a person, the pasuk tells us, is blood. Va'ani nesativ lochem al mizbeach. Hashem is saying in the pasuk, the nefesh of a person, the soul, the essence of a person is blood. And I'm telling you, the Torah says that I'm commanding you to take this nefesh, this essence of a person, this blood, al mizbeach, l'chaper al nafsho yiseichem. That's how you get a kapara, by taking the nefesh of a person, spraying it on the mizbeach, and the pasuk tells us why. Ki hadam hu banefesh yichaper. And Rashi tells us that these words of the pasuk nefesh habasar means that the entire body. Why is blood called the nefesh of a person? Because we know that the entire body is really dependent on blood circulation. The circulation of blood through your organs, through your body, that is what really we are dependent on. So we take that, says the pasuk, we take the nefesh, what our entire body is dependent upon, and we bring that blood, and that dafka that has to be sprinkled on the mizbeach to be machaper, to get a kapara. We bring the nefesh, the blood, to be machaper for the nefesh, which is for the person. The nefesh of the person comes to be mechaper for the person. And Nesivos Shalom tells us that it's that way in Gashmius. In Gashmius, we know, in the physical part of a person, we know that the blood is pumped from the heart to the brain, to every limb of your body, to every corner of your body. The blood is pumped through, and that is the physical being of a person is kept alive by all of that circulating through your body. And it's actually interesting to note that there are obviously some parts of the human body that your life depends on. In other words, if this part of the body is functioning, you can live. And if it's not functioning, you're not going to live. And then yet there are other parts of the body, there are certain extremities and limbs that if there are people, unfortunately, it's amputated, or if it's not functioning well, then a person could still function as a human being. So we have limbs and parts of the body that your life depends on it, and others that are not. But when we speak about dam, it's interesting that blood is even more chashuv. You know why? Because if there's any part of your body, that the dam, that blood, does not reach, that for some reason it is not being perfused by blood and the blood is not making it there, it will definitely die off. So in a way you see that there are limbs of a person that you could live without. Maybe not optimally, maybe not in the best way, but you can live without it. But if your blood does not circulate to any part of your body, that part of your body is going to die off. And says in Nesivos Shalom that this lesson about the gashmis, about the physical way that blood works, also applies to ruchnius, to your spiritual life. Your spiritual life is in your blood too. We have the expression sometimes that a person, if they're upset or they're anxious to do something, or they have a lot of energy to do something, we say that your blood is boiling. And what does that mean? That you're boiling with enthusiasm. And the expression that's used for good reason is that your blood is boiling. And if you take that boiling of your blood and you use it for the enthusiasm for Ahavas Hashem and for Avodas Hashem, then the same way it works physically, that now your blood that is boiling with enthusiasm, with Ahavas Hashem, goes through your entire body and it cleanses your body for ruchnius. And when the blood reaches your heart, when that blood reaches your heart, it goes to your whole body and it purifies your entire being. The same way it works physically, it also works spiritually. and it affects your mind and your hashkafos. It's pumped through your entire being. Just a person that comes with a cheshek and with enthusiasm, with your blood boiling, the ruchnius also that spreads and it's infectious. It goes throughout your body. And we find a very interesting thing that at some point there were people who came and they asked the Rambam, for proof from the Torah that there will be, of course, very shortly and hopefully speedily in our days, people came to the Rambam and they asked, they told the Rambam, prove to us that there is Tchias HaMesim in a Torah. Prove to us from the Torah that there is such a thing as Tchias HaMesim. And the Rambam answered them, but he also said that just from the question that they asked, one can tell that these people ate machalos asuros, they ate things that were usher to eat, they ate treif, and their blood was tamei. You know, if you have machshavos that doubt HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and doubt Tchias HaMesim, and doubt fundamentals of our Ani Mami V'Emunah Shalema, if they doubt fundamentals that something had affected your blood. And the Rambam said that it must be that these people had eaten something, it had gotten into their blood and it affected their minds, it affected their hearts. And that caused them to have wrong thoughts. And it's for that reason that right after the Hakamas HaMishkan, right after where we're instructed to build a house, as soon as we finish Seder Shemois and we speak the last few parshias about building the Mishkan, the Torah goes ahead and tells us about the Karbonos. Because the Mishkan was to create a Mishkan, as we said, that what the Torah wants is a Mishkan in each and every person. The Mishkan was there to create a Mishkan within each and every one of us. And to create that, the Torah is telling us by putting Vayikra right after, telling us about the Mishkan. To create that, your insides, your blood needs to be pure. And the Karbonos do that. The Karbonos that were sprinkled on the Mizbeach, where we took your nefesh, we took the essence and the most essential part of a person, and we gave that, and we give that up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the carbon works when a person thinks about tshuva, because now you're thinking and you're doing tshuva, and you're giving the essence of your carbon, you're giving the blood, which represents the insides and the drive of Gashmias and Ruchnias of the person. We take that and we put it on the Mizbeach and we give that to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when you give the blood of a carbon, like we know the famous Ramban, beginning of this week's parsha, when you give the blood of a carbon, Hashem considers it as if you gave from yourself and you gave your own blood, because of course Hashem doesn't want you to harm yourself and do that, but that is, the carbon represents the person. The carbon is instead of the person. And that is what we said, Tavoy nefesh u'sechaper al nefesh. The nefesh, the blood, your most essential part that has your drive for Gashmias and for Ruchnias, Tavoy nefesh, take that, u'sechaper al nefesh. And that is the derech, that is the way to be mechaper on a person. And that's the big milah of sprinkling the blood on the Mizbeach. We sprinkle the blood because carbon is a lashon of miskareh, of coming close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. By purifying your blood and turning all of you into a mikdash now, where you could now build by giving up your most essential part and giving it to Hashem. That is how every person builds a mikdash in themselves, and that is how it worked by Yetzias Mitzrayim. That is how it worked by the Karban Pesach. That is how it worked by Kabbalah Torah, and that is the way it works for each and every one of us. The lesson of the Karbonos in Parshas Vayikra.